You're listening to the Telltale Channel. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check out my Patreon. And take a look at my other YouTube channels too. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything I release. All links are in the description. In this podcast, Trump pastor Shane Vaughn apparently saw my video criticizing him for being racist and responded. He apologized, surprisingly. Let's talk about the context behind the incident and why he's apologizing in the first place. Shane responded to my criticism of his racist comment, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk about some of the other things I think he could fix. Since he's listening, let's talk about Shane Vaughn's views on the LGBT community. I've claimed that Shane was a Trump pastor, but I feel I should give the full context for why I say that. Is he a Trump pastor, or is he just a pastor that likes Donald Trump? He's a pastor of the Trump church. Let me justify that. We also take voicemails. If you want to leave a voicemail, the number is 1-800-701-8573. Also, check out my book, owenmorgan.com/book. You can also find it on Kindle right now. It will be everywhere as soon as I can possibly put it there. It just takes time to, publish. So anyway. This is Stephen Dollins. If you don't know him, he's an old-timey preacher. I found the entire clip of this Pokemon thing that I want to watch here, and I covered it on my Unfiltered channel, like Owen Unfiltered, and it's hilarious.
Pokemon, Pocket Monster, the spiral. And it stands for what? Male fertility. It's supposed to be able to mesmerize and hypnotize its enemies. This character over here is called Mewtwo. Every time that you see Mewtwo, he's in this pose. 3 fingers. It means Hail Satan.
The dude is obsessed with Pokemon, like, being evil, and comes up with these bizarre conspiracy theories. So I went in search of the guy, see, what's he up to now? And I found his Twitter account. It hasn't really been posted to recently, as far as I can tell. But on the Twitter account, he's talking about how great Kanye is. He's doing his best for us. And Donald Trump is in danger. And Stephen Dollins has a safe house for Donald Trump. If he just, if Trump can just make it to his safe house, to Stephen Dollins' safe house, then he won't be killed by the evil satanic blah, 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 those people.
Cute little one. Everybody go. Oh, come on. His tail. It's a lightning bolt. And it's a satanic Z.
Don't get him started on Jigglypuff, yeah.
He's not cute, and even Ash doesn't look cute anymore. Those energy balls represent that the Pokemon get their power by supernatural occult ability. Abracadabra.
This guy also claimed that he was a high priest in the Church of Satan or something. That's obviously not true because there's only one high priest at a time. And it's the leader of the church. So anyway, oh yeah, it's non-theistic, but he claims he had all these witchy powers. Just absurd, man.
The Kadabra character has a pentagram on his forehead.
What?
And he has SSS across his chest.
No, he has little thunderbolt things.
Satan's solemn servant. The Kadabra character is always pictured on the card with his left hand giving the satanic salute.
That's the satanic salute? I thought that was just a rock-on salute. Okay, whatever. Anyway, yeah, I should go through this again. It's really funny.
Satanic doctrine. For me and my family, we are going to serve the Lord. Not in the ways of these Pokemon, not in the ways of witchcraft or Satan worship. Look at this. Pokemon Psychic Surprise.
Wow, Psychic Surprise. That seals it. It's demonic, right?
Look at this. This creature right here is called Haunter. Little Pikachu down here, he's crying his eyes out.
Oh my god, it's so stupid. Okay, yeah. All right, let's jump forward. Check out this guy. This is Phil Arms. He's more fire and brimstone about it. Less funny and more you're gonna die if you play Pokemon.
Because it's important for the church to deal with issues as they come to the forefront in society. I said, son, what is that one morning? He said, that's Pokemon. Son, I found out that Pokemon means pocket monster. Pokemon, plural, are incredible creatures that share the world with humans. Each has his own fighting abilities. Some grow and evolve into even more powerful creatures.
Like, he's saying this as though it's a bad thing. Like, I don't understand. What's bad about this?
Children are developing relationships with all these Pokemon creatures, little reclusive, power-filled monsters. But why should they carry these monsters in their pocket? They say the Pokemon whole effort is to train children how to become the #1 Pokemon master in the world. You follow it through the New Age teaching, you find out that masters are those who take control of spirit.
Wait, follow it to the New Age teaching? Why are we following it to the New Age teachings? I'm lost.
To take control of spirits in the dark realm, and they tell those spirits what to do. The child at some point becomes...
And also, what is he talking about? They follow spirits of the dark realm, tell them what to do? What? What the hell is happening? I don't understand any of this.
The child at some point becomes capable of taking these powers and channeling them through their mind, through their arms, or through their power sources. Their powers.
They can channel their powers through their arms. I don't know about that. Is that secret Pokemon lore that I missed?
Sources, of course, are many of the symbols that they pick up from the Pokemon paraphernalia. So Pokemon is a game that teaches children how to enter into the world of witchcraft, how to cast spells.
What? Witchcraft? Where'd you get that? I didn't hear anything about witchcraft. This isn't about witchcraft at all. This is just like little abilities that, like, some creatures on Earth have multiple sets of lungs, or they have lungs and gills so they can both walk on land and breathe in the water. I think that's an axolotl, for example. It's just a little ability that this cool little creature has. That's it. That's what the Pokemon is supposed to be. It's not witchcraft.
How to use psychic phenomena, how to put to work supernatural powers against their enemies, how to fantasy role play. Pokemon world is a world of the demonic, of the satanic. But while you might not take it quite seriously, I assure you that demons take it quite seriously.
Okay, anyway, that's... You know what's even better than this? If you can believe it, even more entertaining? The fact that Phil Arms did a 10-minute long promo explaining why he hates dancing. He did a video about how dancing is evil and not safe for a Christian to do. And he wants you to purchase that video for just $25. 1-800-829-WORD. Or write Phil Arms in Pasadena, Texas. Anyway, he really does not like fun at all, does he? Oh my God. Dude hates dancing. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. That's just absurd. These people are absurd, but so entertaining. Apparently, Kevin Garnet, I'm unfamiliar with Kevin Garnet, but he's like a basketball player, and he was a Jehovah's Witness. He was on Jimmy Kimmel.
You kept your high school basketball career a secret from your mother. How old were you when she found out you were playing on the high school basketball team?
She found out when I was a junior in high school. Well, I made it in 8th grade. I made varsity in 8th grade, and she was like, what? No, you're going to go to school. You're going to focus on education. I want you to get into these books. You know, another word with sports, you know, that word with sports, right? And it was like, no. So she was really into education and wanted.
Well, I understand that he was a Jehovah's Witness, to my knowledge, and Jehovah's Witnesses do not allow their kids to play in sports or play on sports teams in sports leagues or whatever in school. That's like forbidden. I was not allowed to play football. I don't even know how football works to this day, honestly. Had somebody explain it to me once. I don't even remember now. Because I wasn't allowed to take part. I wasn't allowed to participate in sports when I was younger. Unless Jehovah's Witnesses were doing it, in which case I could. But who the hell, like, organizes, you know, a football game with Jehovah's Witnesses? And were we invited to it? Oh, if they were holding those games, then no, not really. We weren't really invited as a family. Anyway, wow, to hide it from your mom, imagine that. From 9th to 11th grade, he hid it from his mom. Jesus.
They wanted us to focus on, and we were Jehovah's Witnesses, we were very disciplined kids.
You guys were, most of your events revolved around the church.
The Kingdom Hall, as it's called.
The Kingdom Hall, yes.
Yeah, he knows. They don't like the word church. It bothers them.
And so when she found out that you were playing, how did she find out that you were playing?
My mother was a beautician.
Dude, how do you even do that? How do you hide it? You have games and stuff at night, don't you? Wouldn't you have to, like, attend basketball games at 6 p.m.? How do you get out of the house at 6 p.m. without raising red flags? I can see practice after school, maybe say, school ends at like 4 instead of 3. I could see that, I suppose. But I'm just not connecting the dots on this one. Wow.
After years of working in a factory at 3M, she started her own business and started doing hair in the neighborhood. And one of the girls who I go to school with came in and got her hair done and was like, yo, I got to hurry up and get my hair done. I'm going to see Kevin play tonight. She was like, what? Yeah, I'm going to see Kevin. You don't know?
Oh, boy.
Girl, Kevin's good. You ain't see your son? She was like, Kevin who? She was like, your son. And I'll never forget, I was in the layup line, kind of laying it up, and it was just a typical another night against a rival, and it was a big night. And my mom walked in, my little sister, and I just almost pooped on myself, man. It was not good, Jimmy. It was not good.
So I have to wonder, like, what she did, right? What did she do when she found this out?
And obviously she saw that you were good and committed to this. And
No.
No, I would be surprised. I would think that she ordered him to stop because you just don't play in sports with other people, with non-Jehovah's Witnesses. You don't get involved with non-Jehovah's Witnesses at all.
It was not good. It was like, what are you doing on McKeel? You enjoy the game? Kind of went over. Fortunate enough, I had a good...
I mean, he's joking about this. This isn't really actually funny. This is really sad, you know. He's making light of it because that's how he deals with it. I get it. But it's really sad for him that he had to go through this, you know. And for me and for every other ex-Jehovah's Witness out there, this is part of the deal. This is what we went through, you know. This dude probably knocked on doors too. This dude probably got chased by dogs too, in addition to me and Childish Gambino and Biggie and Selena Gomez and Michael Jackson and Dave Mustaine. All these people understand. They know, just like I do. They know what it was like, and it sucked.
Kind of went over. Fortunate enough, I had a good game, but I was livid after. But as time went, she saw that I was very passionate about what I was talking about. And
Well, he refused to stop. And, you know, at a certain age, you can't stop a kid from doing what they want to do. They're going to do it one way or another. He's got to hope you taught them well. So I guess he reached an age where she just, 11th grade, she couldn't stop him from doing what he wanted to do. He's not a Jehovah's Witness today, presumably, so.
She saw that I was very passionate about what I was talking about, and I was very committed. That still didn't work. But after seeing how committed I was, I think that, obviously going to the NBA would change any parent's kind of mindset of, oh, wow, yeah. Okay, he's decent. Hey, look, I need you to come to this thing called the draft. I'm getting ready to get selected to the NBA. What? Yeah, you serious? Yes, Mom, I'm very serious.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
My mom worked a lot, man. So, I had opportunities to dib and dab here and there. So,
yeah.
Shout out to my
Wait, I don't know. Dib and dab?
mom, yo.
And you get to the NBA, and you're being paid a lot of money, obviously, but you don't trust banks at
More
this
money
time.
than I was before, sure. Yeah.
Yes, more money than you were making in high school.
Yeah.
So you, instead of putting your money in the bank, what do you do with that?
I was kind of raised with a certain pedigree and a mindset, so I wasn't introduced to wires or just fintech. I wasn't financial savvy. And
Okay, that's not necessarily a Jehovah's Witness thing, but I can see them trying to stick in a traditionalist kind of mindset that checks out. That may not have anything to do with being Jehovah's Witness, though. It's probably a bad situation that was made worse by Jehovah's Witnesses. That'd be my guess. Fintech. I love you use that word. I used to be in fintech, financial technology. I was, writing software for banks and credit unions. They do not like being confused with each other at all, it turns out. They get livid. If you call a bank a credit union, get ready for some swearing. Anyway, that's why you just use financial institutions. But it sounds to me like she's still a Jehovah's Witness and he has a good relationship with her, surprisingly. Must not have ever gotten baptized. Somebody asked, why can't they play sports? Well, playing sports is okay. That's fine. It's just not being around outsiders, not hanging out with non-Jehovah's Witnesses. That is what's wrong. And part of playing on a sports team by necessity means that you have to be around other non-Jehovah's Witnesses. You have to spend time away from Jehovah, quote unquote. It's not a rule where you'll get shunned, disfellowshipped for it. It's just a cultural thing. Jehovah's Witnesses just don't do it. You just don't play sports in high school. You just don't. You don't play sports with outsiders. You don't hang out with outsiders.
none of it. And I didn't know about direct deposit. I didn't know none of this. And so when
Yeah, I mean, Jehovah's Witnesses, very sheltered. Leaving Jehovah's Witnesses, I knew nothing. Certainly nothing about social interaction. I was completely separated from the world in that way. And learning it is like an uphill battle. It's a struggle.
When I would get my check, I would go cash it and, bring it home, and I would put it under my mattress. So I did this for 2 years.
You would take a check. How much was like your
I don't want to
weekly
talk
check?
about how much money I had. Jimmy, don't do that.
But you would hand it to somebody where? At a bank or a check cashing place?
No, Jimmy, I would go to a bank, go into a bank, plenty of professional people with guards, and I would actually do and they would give me my money, came in the bag, and I had a whole little system, and I would go home and put it under my mattress.
I mean, it couldn't have been like millions, could it? To fit under a mattress? My God, why would you do that? That's a quick way to cause a mattress to be lumpy.
For 2 years, I did that.
What was the most? How much money did you have
For 10 years?
under that?
I don't want to talk about that, Jimmy.
Well, anyway, yeah, that's a totally different thing. So he's a Jehovah's Witness, or an ex-Jehovah's Witness, I guess. Kevin Garnet. God, like people, ex-Jehovah's Witnesses are everywhere. Like you don't even know where they are until they just come out. Dude, are you kidding me? Leave me alone, please. Let's see. Got kicked off Renaissance of prep to pro players by jumping directly from high school to the NBA, paving the way for the likes of Kobe Bryant, Jermaine O'Neal, Tracy McGrady, and LeBron James. Wow. That was in 95. That's fascinating. Oh, there's a documentary about him? Oh, it debuts on Showtime. Fascinating. Okay. He told Kimmel he's raised a Jehovah's Witness, came from a very disciplined household. He uses the word disciplined. That has a positive connotation. If he were not being positive about Jehovah's Witnesses, I would expect that he'd use a word like strict or punishing rather than disciplined. So I don't know. I guess we'll find out soon if the dude, is positive about Jehovah's Witnesses or negative. Hope for the best.
This nation was founded as a Christian nationalist form of government built upon biblical Judeo-Christian principles.
No to all of that. This nation has a secular constitution. Everything about this country and the founding fathers, it was all secular. They all wanted it to be non-religious. In fact, most of the founding fathers were non-religious. I think John Adams is like one of the few exceptions to that. John Adams was a nutcase. Anyway, this is Brenda Kunneman, if you're unfamiliar. She's a televangelist, absolutely out of her head on Christian nationalism and extremist Christianity. Not standard Christianity, extremist Christianity. So I got some voicemails I want to listen to, see what they have to say. Check this one out.
Hi, Owen. My name is Salem from Virginia. I go by she, her pronouns. A few years ago, the church I used to go to had a Republican senator guest speak, and afterwards, we all prayed over his re-election. Wouldn't that be in violation of the Johnson Amendment, since we're praying over an election for a specific person? The church is doing that. Thank you for your time. Have a good evening. Bye.
Yeah, I appreciate the call. To my knowledge, the Johnson Amendment, if you don't know, or if anybody out there doesn't know, the Johnson Amendment is the amendment in U.S. tax code that basically says nonprofits are not allowed to explicitly endorse or oppose candidates or campaigns for office, for public office. Or they lose their tax-exempt status. That's it. They just have to, become a private company instead. Anyway, the Johnson Amendment was violated by doing that. Yes, it sounds like the situation you described, that sounds like it was a violation of the Johnson Amendment. Not having him come and speak, because he may not, he could be a pastor, feasibly. Maybe he was a pastor and he's visiting from a local church or something. I mean, if we wanted to fabricate an excuse. But praying over his re-election, that is illegal. But here's the thing. The justice system is very slow. The wheels of justice turn slow. And there's a concept of mootness in law, I've come to find. My wife is in law school, and that has kind of put me in a position where I'm around lawyers a lot. Because, at conferences and stuff, she knows all the lawyers around, the litigation attorneys and everything. Anyway, I hear about this stuff a lot. So the concept of mootness means, for example, there was a state that had "In God We Trust" on their license plates, I think, or some Jesus message, I don't remember. And American Atheists, I think, was suing over it. I think that might have gone forward, the lawsuit, and I think they're working on it right now. But hypothetically, let's say the state changed their license plates to not say "In God We Trust" anymore. If that had happened, if they had changed the law, then you can't sue over it anymore. American Atheists couldn't continue their lawsuit because it's moot. It doesn't matter. It doesn't say "In God We Trust" anymore. Personally, I think the concept of mootness is stupid. We should be able to set future precedent to prevent that kind of thing from happening in the future, right? But yeah, that's mootness. Mootness and standing are two complex subjects that I'm not really sure that I'm fully in favor of. Like, I don't know, they have their place in the legal system, and people smarter than me, more knowledgeable and well-informed on the subject, have different opinions than me on mootness and standing. But I think mootness and standing should change a little bit. The point that I'm getting to is that it's a moot point. The pastor came, he prayed at your church prayed over his reelection, and now it's over. It's not a reoccurring problem that needs to be resolved because it happened and now it's not happening. That's the idea. So I think mootness would probably play into this. It seems like something that he would have to do habitually. But either way, it doesn't matter because the IRS is not prosecuting these cases. They're not, pursuing this anyway. The Johnson Amendment is effectively dead because nobody is, paying any attention to it. Thanks for the phone call. I appreciate it. It's pretty interesting. Nerical, state of Indiana has the option to put "In God We Trust" on their plates. Okay, maybe that's what happened. I don't remember. There was some situation where a state was forcing it and then they changed it to having it optional. Maybe that was what happened. And I think American Atheist was looking into it, tracking it. I don't have any idea now. It's been forever. Anyway, pretty interesting.
Hey, this is Steve in Arkansas, and I was just talking with someone where they were talking about about Salem witches, and I said, I don't even think there were witches. I mean, it would be kind of almost noble if a witch actually got burned or drowned, killed for being a witch, but I think it was just a power struggle, and someone just was in a theocracy. Salem was a theocracy. You just shamed someone, and in their case, they could kill them. And it reminded me of the Greg Locke video that you had 2 years ago, where he called out people in his congregation, and then more. Why? To intimidate people. And I think, as our country is heading towards this theocracy, this is one of the really big problems with that, is the danger of being intimidated just with fear tactics, because you don't even need laws. You just sort of insinuate someone is of Satan and they get lynched. Anyway, love to have further insight from you.
Yeah, I appreciate it. It's an interesting subject. I wanted to touch on the Salem witch trials, just talk about it for a second, because I bet there's some information that a lot of people aren't aware of. I actually looked into it the other day, and I found some stuff out. But for the record, the caller was talking about this video from Greg Locke where he went on a witch hunt. This is from February 13th, 2022.
We got first and last names of 6 witches that are in our church. And you know what's strange? 3 of you are in this room right now.
It was false. The whole situation exploded, and we found out that he's talking about 2 people that he didn't like. And this was genuinely just a power struggle type of situation. And he claimed that they were witches so that he could get them out of his church, it seemed to me. Because this woman was, she insisted that Greg Locke stop talking to these people because they're not Jesus-y enough, and Greg Locke didn't like that, so he called them witches, basically.
Three of you in the room right now. You better look in my eyeballs. We ain't afraid of you, you stinking witch. You devil-worshiping Satanist witch.
By the way, just for the record, Greg Locke believes that he is capable of everything that a witch is capable of. He just gets his power from Jesus rather than from Satan or wherever he thinks witches get their power. So he's kind of like witches for Jesus, right? That's kind of the idea here. That's what he is. He's a witch for Jesus. And what makes it even more interesting is that people can be doing all of this stuff, you know, divination, fortune telling. They can be casting things out and so on. And it turns out it wasn't Jesus giving them that power. It was Satan. And Greg Locke knows that because he doesn't like that person. He doesn't think that they're valid, or they did something he doesn't trust. And just like that, they're witches. Just like that. They're doing everything that he's doing, casting out demons and all that other junk, but they're getting their power elsewhere. So they're witches. Fascinating. It's a fascinating little way to demonize somebody and impose rules on them and enforce those rules.
We cast you out in the name of Jesus Christ. We break your spells. We break your curse. We got your first name. We got your last name. We even got an address for one of you.
He was at their house just like 2 nights before this, eating dinner with him, and they pissed him off. It's a husband and wife. They pissed him off by telling him they didn't like Clay Clark and the fact that they thought that Clay Clark was a fake Christian that was using witchcraft, basically. And they said that they thought that he should get away from him. The Reawaken America tour, Donald Trump tour. And Greg Locke just like that said, okay, well, they're witches. You know, he said, thank you so much for the lovely meal. It was great coming over to your home. They were on his security team. They were his personal trainers. And they were involved in the church for like 10 months or something. And involved in the security stuff for 8 months, I believe. And just like that, the very next Sunday, he comes up here and starts calling them witches. They had no idea that this is going to happen. It was nuts. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the phone call about that. About the Salem witch trials, though, I don't know how many people knew this, but it turns out that the basis for the witch trials were almost certainly, as a caller said, it was probably it was a power struggle. But turns out that there was something called ergo, I think, E-R-G-O-T is how it's pronounced, ergo. Ergo, I believe, was growing on rye bread, and ergo, or whatever, is a key ingredient in LSD. So when they used this bread or this wheat or whatever to bake a cake or to cook some kind of food or whatever, they brought it to somebody, and they ate it, and they started hallucinating. And they thought that they were poisoned. They thought that, they were a witch that was forcing powers on them and so on. That was really the basis of the witch hunt. But suddenly, everybody is a witch. Any single person can be a witch if you look hard enough, Anyway, I just want to read this article real quick. How rye bread may have caused the Salem witch trials. This is on Encyclopedia Britannica, Britannica.com. I have a little browser extension that tells me if a website is credible or not. Let's see. The rating on this one is source is credible. I mean, it's Encyclopedia Britannica. Of course it is. How rye bread may have caused the Salem witch trials. In 1692, the small Puritan village of Salem, Massachusetts, was plagued by a sudden and brief cloud of witchcraft accusations. After young girls Betty Paris and Abigail Williams exhibited severe convulsions and other strange symptoms, village doctor William Griggs diagnosed them as having been bewitched. Wow, great doctor, thank you. Soon after, their townspeople began showing similar symptoms. That's when the accusations started flying. Again, anybody can be a witch. That's the problem with a witch hunt. That's why we have the term witch hunt, because you can dig up anything that justifies your belief that this person is practicing divination or something. Find something in their past to justify it. Soon after, other townspeople began showing similar symptoms. That's when the accusations started flying. The town quickly decided that they were going to search for and execute all the witches of Salem. By the end of the trials in May 1693, that's about 75 to 100 years before, the Revolutionary War and the official ratification of the Constitution. 95 years before, I think. 19 people by May 1693, 19 people had been hanged, 1 had been crushed by stones, my God, and 4 had died in prison, all accused of being witches. 300 years later, we're still asking, did witches really haunt the town of Salem, or was another devil at work? No, I'm not asking that. Are people asking that? In 1976, Dr. Linda Caporiel of the Rensselaer Polytechnic Institute found evidence that supported the latter hypothesis, another devil at work. Caporiel, I guess, proposed that perhaps the brief and intense illness suffered by so many of the townspeople were not bewitchment, but rather ergoism, a disease commonly contracted by rye. Later, other historians agreed. Ergoism was not only an interesting theory, but also had some footing. Could all of the crazy happenings in Salem really be explained by some rotted rye? Interesting. I was told that it was because it was causing hallucinations. I didn't know it was convulsions. Surprisingly, a lot of them can, with the exception of a few events, which are typically attributed to groupthink and the power of suggestion. The behavior exhibited in 1692 fits the bill of rye-induced ergoism. Ergoism forms in rye after a severe winter and a damp spring, conditions that Caporiel and other historians claim were present in 1691, and therefore affected the rye harvested for consumption in 1692. After the rye plant contracts ergo, the fungus grows and replaces shoots with the grain, on the grain with sclerotia. Yeah, again, ergo is the basis for LSD. LSA from morning glory seeds can also be used to make LSD. Ergo sclerotia are purple-black growths that contain lysergic acid. There you go. And ergoamine. Lysergic acid is the basis for it, because LSD stands for lysergic acid diethylamine. That's LSD. That's acid. Since medical knowledge was sparse, the presence of darker shoots on rye was probably thought to be the product of overexposure to the sun, so it was most likely eaten despite being poisonous. Once contracted from rye bread, ergoism, called St. Anthony's fire, causes severe convulsions, muscle spasms, delusions, the sensation of crawling under the skin, wow, and in extreme cases, gangrene of the extremities. Holy Christ, dude. Wow, that's nuts. Severe hallucinations can also be a symptom, as lysergic acid is the substance from which the drug LSD is synthesized. These symptoms were the same as those shown by the accused in Salem, mostly young girls whose immune systems had not fully developed, leaving them susceptible to disease such as ergoism. Anyway, that's the basis for the idea that, they all did a bunch of acid, basically, and poisoned themselves and believed that somebody in the town was a witch. I see somebody said St. Elmo's fire in the chat. St. Elmo's fire is a phenomenon where a ship will be sailing through the seas, and all of the points on the ship will light up with electricity, basically. They'll glow with electricity. It's pretty cool, actually. I don't remember why it happens. I looked into it forever ago, but apparently it's a band from the 80s also. It's hard to capture on film, but you can. Here's a depiction of it. And yeah, it happens when you're way out in the ocean. It's pretty fascinating. You should read about it sometime. St. Elmo's fire. Yeah, very different. Anyway, yeah, thank you for the phone call. I appreciate that.
Hi, Owen. This is Tim. I actually like what you do and agree with your political views for the most part. I'm 64 years old and have moved to the left as I have gotten older for a reason. It's because I look at knowledge and facts, and you're right. The far right has gone off the extreme deep end, and it needs to be exposed. So keep doing what you're doing. And
I appreciate that.
And I will disagree with you on one thing as far as Mitt Romney having any integrity. He doesn't really. And if you look at his campaign, he was just as big of a pathological liar, almost as Donald Trump. But by comparison, of course, he pales. Anyway, have a great one. Keep doing what you're doing. Thanks.
I appreciate that. Well, I think the difference between Donald Trump and Mitt Romney is that Mitt Romney does adhere to a moral system. Now, he might have an ends justify the means mentality where he's willing to do whatever it takes to get where he wants to be, but he believes in honesty. That's part of his moral system. I mean, honesty to some degree. Like, he believes in, oh God, what's the term? I can't think of the term I'm looking for here, but Mitt Romney believes in some kind of moral system. Donald Trump believes in Donald Trump, and that's it. No more, no less. He doesn't have a moral system. Trump doesn't. I don't believe. I don't think he's Christian. I don't think he's anti-abortion. I don't even think he's anti-gay. I think he does whatever is beneficial to him, whatever the cost. However he can come out ahead in this situation, he'll do it. Mitt Romney is different. Yeah, he did tell lies and things, but it's a little bit different. There's a different tinge to it, if you will. I don't know how else to say it. Anyway, I don't think Mitt Romney is good by any stretch of the imagination. I don't want Mitt Romney or any of that. I just think that he's a little better than Trump.
Hey, Owen, this is Jolene from Alabama. I'm kind of grieving my grandmother right now, and I'm also deconverting from religion. I was wondering if there was any advice that you could give to help better process this in a non-religious lens and to better support my family. Thanks, Owen. See ya.
Yeah, I appreciate the phone call. The advice that I can give is limited, and I've given this advice before, but I'll say it again. I lost my grandmother in 2022, September 2022, and it was pretty rough, you know? It's not easy to be an atheist. It's not easy to not believe that she's going to be on the other side waiting for me or whatever. It's hard. So how do you deal with it? The way that I deal with it is I try to take some kind of, all right, let me put it this way. Here's how I deal with it. They say that you die twice. Once when, you take your last breath, and a second time when your name is spoken for the last time, or maybe even a third time when your influence completely passes through and you have no more influence on the world. It's all completely gone. When my grandmother died, I put a concerted effort into adopting, but first of all, keeping a physical item. I feel like that's important, a physical item of the person. Second, finding some tradition that the person did, or some little thing, a phrase that they use, or something, a mannerism, and adopt it. My grandmother played gag gifts at Christmas. Some people call it White Elephant. Some people call it Dirty Santa, I think. Anyway, yeah, she played that at Christmas. Like, that's an example of a tradition that a family can carry on in honor of the person. So let that tradition carry on through you and reflect the good parts. Oh, my cat is just has decided that she wants to be over here in the corner. What are you doing? Just try to find a way to integrate that, the personality trait or that tradition or that whatever into your own life. My grandmother was, she embodied the values that Jesus espoused, the real values that Jesus espoused, not the ones that these fictitious fictitious Christians like to believe about him, like hating gay people, hating the poor, hating this and hating that. Now, Jesus loved everybody, cared for everybody, no matter what. If they were hungry, he'd find a way to feed them. If they were thirsty, he would get them water. If they were in jail, he'd come visit them. That was what my grandmother was like. And I'm going to carry on the tradition of displaying those traits, those personality traits. I'm going to try to mimic that to the best of my ability, thus carrying on her legacy, what she left behind. That's the best you can do. It's hard to deal with. It's not fun. Like I said, it's hard to be an atheist. It is not an easy thing. A lot of people wouldn't choose it if it was up to them because it's so hard to get through the other side. But here we are, right? Anyway, good luck dealing with it. I'm sorry you have to deal with that. And Yeah, give me a call. Let me know how things are going, because this is actually a little bit of an older voicemail. Hopefully things are going well. 1-800-701-8573 if you guys want to call in. Next up, Trump pastor Shane Vaughn apparently saw my video criticizing him for being racist and responded. He apologized, surprisingly. Let's talk about the context behind the incident and why he's apologizing in the first place. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
But I do regret those words, and I will be much more careful in the future. I want to thank my haters on YouTube, Owen, Fireside Chat, others that we, I think they have a secret crush on me.
I do. Absolutely. He hit the nail on the head. Wow. A pastor, a Trump pastor, an extremist, apologizing for something. What could he possibly be apologizing for? What does he have, or what could he possibly be ashamed of? There's so much stuff that he doesn't seem to care about at all. Like rampant racism and homophobia and just general hate all the way around. Well, let me give you the context behind why this Trump pastor is talking about me and why he apologized in the first place. This is a video that it kind of went viral, I guess, and he, led him to respond to what I had to say about it. In case anybody is unfamiliar, he's talking about Judge Ketanji Brown Jackson. She's a justice on the Supreme Court. The apology came out mid-April 2024. This video is from late March 2024.
See, the problem is Jumanji Jungle, Judge Jumanji Jungle lips. The problem with it is this, because what's coming out of her lips is monkey sense.
That is one of the most racist things I have ever heard in my life.
Not common sense. It's jungle monkey sense pouring out of your liberal lips, and you are a...
Like, why don't you just say the N-word?
Curse to this nation. You are a rodent in our republic. Your mindset is messed up.
Saying this stuff about Ketanji Brown Jackson is absolutely grotesque. But you know what? It's on brand. This is what I expected from Shane Vaughn. You know what I didn't expect? The apology. Keep listening.
It is the enemy of the people. Disrobe yourself because you have dishonored yourself.
All right, so that was his, his whole bit about Ketanji Brown Jackson. It was just disgusting, straight up disgusting. When I first covered it, I talked about the history of why it's racist. For anybody that's unfamiliar, you can watch that video if you want. But bottom line is, it's a caricature that was used to denigrate ex-slaves back in the late 1800s and early mid-1900s. And when that stuff's brought up and shown today, it's just like disgusting, just straight up disgusting. So let's listen to his entire apology now and see if we think he's genuine or what. Again, mid-April 2024.
Anyone that knows me personally knows there's not a racist bone in my body.
Totally.
But a lot of people don't know me personally, do they? So they go by what I say. And if you're just going by what I said that night, you have every right to be offended. That was unacceptable. And I'm asking every one of you to forgive me if you can find it in your heart to do so.
Every one of who exactly? Who is he asking? Yeah, this is an interesting, what would you call it? This is an interesting thought experiment, I guess you could say. You can't be canceled unless it's your audience doing the canceling. You cannot be canceled unless you do something out of character that your audience doesn't expect you to do. If they think you're a good person and then you go out and say, you're caught saying the N-word or something, or maybe you just have you haven't espoused any views on politics whatsoever. Like, look at Hulk Hogan, for example. Hulk Hogan had not said a word to anybody about anything regarding politics, really, but then he was caught on recording saying the N-word and saying all kinds of racist stuff like forever ago. he said the N-word, and he went on a big racist rant and everything. But since he hadn't talked about that stuff before, nobody expected this from the guy. And he was canceled by his followers. Or let me rephrase. When I say canceled, I mean his followers chose to just stop watching him because they were so disgusted by what he said and did. Now, Shane Vaughn is being canceled, quote unquote, for his racist comments, apparently. The reason I say that is because he has said some deeply horrific stuff in the past, which we'll get to. He thinks this one is crossing the line. That means his audience is unhappy with what he said. This wasn't about what he thought. This isn't about his feelings or his thoughts or his whatever. He wouldn't feel shame if he wasn't famous and getting backlash for it. He wouldn't care. If he was just a normal guy and he's at a family reunion and he said that, and his brother was like, dude, that is way too far. He's like, I'm sorry, that's just how I feel. I'm sure that's how it would play out. But he's got a group of people who were in his audience who are very unhappy with what he's saying because it's just disgusting. That's why he's responding. Not because he feels shame over it, but because his audience didn't like what he said.
And thank you for letting me learn from this experience. And I will learn from this experience. I will try to be more careful with my speech.
Bizarre thing to hear coming out of the mouth of a Trump extremist, a Trump pastor. I mean, I don't mean a pastor that likes Donald Trump. I mean a pastor of a Trump church, effectively. Donald Trump is famous for saying whatever, just saying scumbag stuff. That's why he's uncancelable, Donald Trump. That's why there's literally nothing he could do to get his audience to turn away, because they know he's a scumbag. They like that about it. Or they've been inundated with so much of his scumbag behavior that, they just don't care anymore. Like, okay, maybe it's true, maybe it's not, but I like the guy. There are some people who are uncancelable, and Shane Vaughn, I guess, fancied himself one of those people. But even Trump could be canceled, actually. Like I said, you can be canceled if what you do is outside your audience's expectations. You know what it would take for Trump to be canceled? For nobody to vote for him or have anything to do with him anymore? He would have to come out as gay or come out as trans. That's simple. All he'd have to do is come out as trans. And even then, there'd still be people voting for him. But the point is, it's something out of character that his fans don't expect from him. That is what it would take to cancel him.
And there's no excuse. I'm not going to try to excuse anything. But I do.
That's respectable. But again, I don't even believe that you care.
But I do regret those words. And
no, I think he regrets the backlash.
I will be much more careful in the future. I want to thank my haters on YouTube, Owen, Fireside Chat, others.
Holla.
That we, I think they have a secret crush on me.
Yep. You got me. I do. Absolutely on point, Shane. I was trying to hide it. But since the cat's out of the bag now, I guess I'll just go all in with it. Yep, I got a crush on you, bud. That's it.
But I want to thank them for calling me out on that. I deserved it. I should have been called out on that. And I always listen to my enemies, because enemies many times will tell you what you need to hear. And so I appreciate.
Oh, so you want to, okay, great. If you're willing to listen to your enemies, quote unquote. By the way, I don't view you as an enemy. I don't want you to think that I'm an enemy. We're not enemies, okay? We're fellow Americans. I would like to think that you view me as somebody who disagrees with you, somebody who criticizes you, and in turn is worthy of criticism. If you don't like something I do, hit me. Do it. Just calling me an enemy is a disturbing way to view it, but that's neither here nor there.
On that, and I always listen to my enemies, because enemies many times will tell you what you need to hear. And so I appreciate them for calling me out. And again,
like, I would like to think that his followers would tell him when he's doing something that's not quite right. Like, my followers have told me when I need to cite a source or when I get something incorrect or whatever. They tell me, you know, I'm in the chat, I'm in the comments, looking at this stuff, and I correct it just like that. Boom. There's no hiding from it. There's no embarrassment. Oh my God, I messed something up. None of that. I just fix it. So either this guy has created an echo chamber with his fans and just gets rid of anybody he doesn't like or disagrees with him, or they seem to be like straight up cult members or something. Like, I don't know. I mean, they're all members of the Trump cult.
Again, I apologize. So I still think she's a dummy. I still think she talks monkey talk.
Okay, Shane, that's what we're talking about, bud. Right there, that. Let's just roll it back. Listen one more time. If Shane's watching, I want you to, I'm going to point out the problem, okay? Now listen closely to what you say right here.
I still think she talks monkey talk.
That one right there.
I still think that she's ignorant, dumb.
You know what? If you want to say somebody talks monkey talk, make it a white person, okay, next time, so that there's no confusion. He shouldn't have even tried to back it up like he didn't mean it. Like, didn't you just admit to saying this stuff? Why are you really are you really going to sit here and double down on this?
She's ignorant, dumb, and should not be wearing a robe and should be living in the jungle as Judge Jumanji, okay? But
that right there, Shane. Did you learn nothing? Nothing at all. What is happening? Are you kidding?
Her physical appearance, off limits.
He doesn't get it. He doesn't understand. He apologized for something that didn't get through his thick skull in the first place. The apology was good. It was on point. I liked that. You know, I appreciate it. Didn't give any excuses. Said that it is something that I need to learn from. I like that a lot. And then he just went over and did the exact same thing. This is like an SNL skit. How do you parody this? In that vein, let's talk about some of the other things that he said that I view to be very deeply racist. All right, this one is about Britney Griner. This is from mid-December 2022. By the way, going into this, let me just explain who Britney Griner is. If you don't remember, a couple of years ago, she was playing for an American team in the WNBA, and she's playing in the Russian league as well. Apparently, a lot of people do that. And she went over to Russia right when the war started. Actually, I think it might have been, it was about 9-10 months after the war in Ukraine started, roughly. And Russia had her arrested. And they put her in jail and in a work camp, and sentenced her to like 10 years or something like that. And the U.S. finally did a prisoner swap for her, traded a notorious arms dealer for her, a notorious Russian arms dealer. So anyway, that's Britney Griner. I'm glad she's back. She should have been, I'm glad that they made the trade. There's still plenty of Russian people high up in our prison system that can be traded as a card if need be.
So what does Brother Britney do? Yeah, it's Brother Britney. Look at the Adam's apple, darling. Brother Britney throws...
He's a transvestigator. I don't know if you've heard the term, but they believe that everybody's trans secretly, and they're all trying to get one over on you. I'm trans, they're trans, you're trans, everyone's trans, I think it probably started with, like, Michelle Obama, who, by the way, he also believes is trans, Michelle Obama. But it just, it spread from there. It just got gigantic. And now we've got transvestigators all over the place, left, right, and center. Okay, so we've got a claim that Britney Griner looks like a man. I mean, I could lay down some comments about Western beauty standards and the racist undertones from that, but not gonna bother. Not gonna bother. You know what? We will only hit the truly racist stuff. Okay, go on.
Throws a basketball around and kneels during the Pledge of Allegiance to the...
No, she didn't. That's just completely fabricated. I looked, and I looked pretty hard, and I saw absolutely no evidence of this. Unless there's like some specific event he's talking about, I could not find anything that indicates that she kneels when the Pledge of Allegiance or whatever happens.
The Pledge of Allegiance to the flag, refusing to pledge his allegiance, does drugs, hates America, and brother Britney has a wife.
Jesus Christ, dude. All of the, this is almost more, I would say that this is more like anti-LGBT than, anti-black or than racist. I mean, it's all mixed in there. Why didn't he get backlash on this one? Seriously. Why was it that one where he talked about monkey sense and stuff?
He has a wife. That's right. That's right.
The gall. That's just too much, too far, man. Has a wife, you say?
That's right. Brother Britney has a wife, while the merchant of death is the Bill Gates of arms dealing. Our American...
That's not true, by the way. He was very notorious in the arms dealing industry, but the Bill Gates of arms dealing? Like, what does that even mean? The U.S. set up a sting operation in other countries. He was funding, everybody. He's giving everybody, selling everybody weapons. It was crazy. It was bad. Really, really bad. There's a documentary about him, maybe a movie. I don't remember. And he's a terrible person. But he's out of the arms dealing game now. Somebody filled his slot when he was removed, I'm sure. So I'm not worried about him going back to arms dealing. He's served a sentence at least, and it's worth it to get an American citizen out of jail, in my opinion. I'd want them to do the same for me. Of course, they wouldn't, because I'm just some dude. But I appreciate that they try really hard, the U.S. government, Biden at least, tried really hard to get Griner out and succeeded. That's respectable, in my opinion.
Is the Bill Gates of arms dealing. Our American fake pseudo government.
This is just QAnon garbage.
Felt that we could afford to let the merchant of death go. That's all Putin wanted, was the merchant of death.
Yeah, they called him the merchant of death. Again, documentary about him or a movie or something. Dude's out of the game, okay? Somebody filled his slot. You think that somebody goes away for 10 years and just the power vacuum sits there, nobody fills it? Really? No, that's how the black market works, unfortunately. It takes a serious blow, the black market will, but there are still international illegal arms deals that take place to this day. Like right now, it's happening. And this merchant of death guy has been in jail for, 10 years or something like that in the U.S. So somebody stepped into his spot. When power vacuums exist, they are filled with the next guy in line every time. That's why we should have a different approach to the drug war, in my opinion. There are some things that you need to stamp out. You need to stamp out to the best of your ability, human trafficking, CP rings, arms dealing, things like that. Anything you can do. Put moles in there and informants, pay informants, and do whatever it takes. But the drug war obviously needs to, there needs to be a different approach in the U.S. That's a totally different subject. Anyway, the point is, there's a power vacuum, and it was filled by somebody. So this dude is useless to the arms dealing trade now.
Wanted was the merchant of death. That was our ace of spades, darling.
No, it wasn't. We have plenty of others.
Spades, darling. If you want to get Britney back, brother Britney, then why don't you go find a Russian prostitute that we've got in jail and give her back in exchange for brother Britney, because their value is about the same.
I'm not understanding. Why did he not get hit for this one? Why didn't his audience start yelling at him over this 2 years ago or a year and a half ago or something?
You see, Professor Toto says the quiet part out loud.
And that's the key right there.
I say what you've been thinking. That's why y'all love Trump so much. That's why I love him so much. He says the quiet part out loud.
Yeah, so he calls himself Professor Toto. That's his whole bit or whatever. Like Toto the dog from The Wizard of Oz grabbing the curtain, pulling it back so everyone can see what's really happening. Anyway, that's the whole bit. says the quiet part out loud. Well, I don't feel that way. So it's not like I'm saying the quiet part, or it's not like you're speaking the quiet part that I'm secretly holding back or something. Just complete nonsense. This isn't saying the quiet part out loud, quote unquote. This is being a scumbag. Okay, yes, I suppose some people hide their scumbag behavior and scumbag beliefs. So props to you for not hiding it. Glad that, we can get it all on record and listen to it out in the open. That's nice, I suppose. Just some context here if you're unfamiliar with Shane Vaughn. Let me show you the opener from the video that I did the other day on him. This is Shane Vaughn. He is a pastor, a Trump pastor, believes that Trump is sent by God and that Trump is the Messiah. He has said those words, Trump is the Messiah. I'm not joking. And what did Shane Vaughn decide to address in the video? Yes, I did call him out for racism immediately after that. I went on to talk about it. But he chose to address the racism part, not the fact that I called him a pastor of the Trump church, effectively. He just ignored that completely. Listen to this clip. This is how the dude feels about Donald Trump. This one is from mid-August 2022.
Donald Trump carries the prophetic seal of the calling of God. He is Joseph. If you are anointed by Yahweh for a specific plan and purpose, you are a Messiah. Yeshua was the Messiah of mankind, but Donald Trump is the Messiah of America.
So Shane Vaughn called Donald Trump the Messiah. He is a Messiah. He believes him to be the Son of Man, as far as I can tell. The second coming of Jesus, effectively. Not like being filled with Jesus. Not like Jesus coming down to earth again and embodying Donald Trump or whatever, but Donald Trump fulfilling the role that Jesus was supposed to fulfill when he came to earth the first time, or when he comes back to earth, when he comes back. Donald Trump is doing that for him, so Jesus doesn't have to come back. That's the belief. Now, I haven't talked about Shane Vaughn in depth in a while, so I want to talk about him a little bit more in the next couple of videos that release around the time that this one releases. I'm going to talk about his position on the LGBT community, and I'm going to talk about his religious beliefs, his Trump theology again. It's been a while since I hit that, and I have new clips to show you regarding his theology. So keep a lookout for those. They'll be releasing soon if they haven't already. Anyway, tell me what you think about this guy in the comments. This is just like shameless. Like everything about this is shame. Like there's no shame to be found. He doesn't care about any of this. The apology, you know what I learned from his apology? That he's really good at lying. That's what I discovered. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. It's just ridiculous. Next up, Shane responded to my criticism of his racist comment, so I thought I'd take the opportunity to talk about some of the other things I think he could fix. Since he's listening, let's talk about Shane Vaughn's views on the LGBT community. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
I'm surprised I ain't in jail. If I go to jail, y'all better bond me out. Don't let me sit in there all night. Give me my cot, my cookies until somebody bonds me out. Listen, all joking aside, these people have lost their minds.
This is Shane Vaughn. If you don't know, he's a Trump pastor. I mean, a pastor of the Trump church, effectively. Talked about him in a series of videos this week. If you want to see more stuff about him, then you can check the other ones. He got himself into a little bit of a pickle recently because he said some deeply racist stuff. Like, oh my God, racist. Insane racist. That's what another video is about. The previous one that released on this channel, I believe. So he apologized. He issues an apology for the racist stuff that he said, calling Ketanji Brown Jackson a monkey. Like, holy shit, bro. And he said he wanted to learn from the experience. And he named me personally. So you know what? In that spirit, let's talk about some other things that I think are questionable about Shane's behavior or ideas or whatever. He said, I want to personally thank Owen Morgan, Owen's Fireside Chat, for calling me out. I needed to be called out. Well, let me call you out with some other stuff. Maybe we can, fix some of these problems that I've noticed. This video we just watched is a video of Shane Vaughn getting off an airplane after a big altercation on the airplane. I believe it was over masks. He didn't want to wear a mask. Yeah, see, he's holding a mask here, and he refused to wear it, to my knowledge. Anyway, he got in this altercation on the plane, and after getting off the plane, he filmed this and said, y'all better bail me out. Listen to the rest of the video. By the way, this video released early January 2022.
All joking aside, these people have lost their minds. And they keep expecting everybody to sit down there, lay down there and take it. Well, honey, I'm not no homosexual. I don't lay down for nobody. I don't take it from nobody.
Did somebody say that you do? What are you even talking about right now? Why do I care? Why are you telling me this information? I don't give a shit who you lay down with. Go nuts. You want to lay down with a dude? Do it. You want to lay down with a woman? Do it. I don't care. Why are you bringing this into the conversation? This feels like just like an unhealthy obsession with gay people, right? You haven't seen anything yet. We'll get there. Let me show you the apology, the little faux apology he offered real quick. I covered it in my previous one. We're just going to cover the early snippet here.
I'm asking every one of you to forgive me if you can find it in your heart to do so. And thank you for letting me learn from this experience. And I will learn from this experience. I will try to be more careful with my speech.
Honestly, it blows me away that he's even saying this. I guess we found the one thing that his audience won't put up with, racism. But they're A-okay with all of the references to being gay, huh?
And there's no excuse. I'm not going to try to excuse anything. But I do regret those words. And
he regrets it because he got backlash, plain and simple.
And I will be much more careful in the future.
Yeah, so let's see how careful he is. Let's go back in time and see some of the other things that he said. We talked a little bit about his racist or racial views in the other video. Let's talk about his views on gay people in this one. These are separate videos, by the way. You don't have to watch any in these sets to understand what's happening or anything. Check this clip out. This is from late June 2024. I'm sorry, no, this is 2022. My mistake. Just to clarify that. I don't know why I put 2024. Context is January 6 hearings were happening in Congress. Cassidy Hutchinson was testifying, and Cassidy Hutchinson testified to the fact that Donald Trump planned out this whole thing to get people whipped into a blood frenzy at the Capitol, and Secret Service refused to take him to the Capitol. He said he was going to the Capitol at the end of his speech, going with them, and he got in the car and Secret Service said, no, we're not taking you there. No, there's no chance. We're not doing it. And he tried to grab the wheel and stuff, according to her, I believe. So anyway, that's what happened. She was one of the people testifying. She was in an office basically adjacent to Trump's or adjacent to his chief of staff or something. She's directly below his chief of staff.
Little witch, standing there lying on the president of the United States of America, the only legitimate one, and you're sitting there lying through your teeth because you are a witch. You're a rebellious Jezebel.
Wow, dude. Okay, misogyny amped up to 10. That's fantastic. Little witch, little Jezebel.
But you little lazy spirit.
Wow, okay. Just throw that one in there too, I suppose. So misogyny and homophobia. Oh, yeah, and transphobia. We'll get there. All mixed into one. All that seems to be okay with him and his audience. It's when he crosses the line into literally calling Ketanji Brown Jackson a monkey. That's a step too far.
Standing there and you look like you're a walking zombie. You lied. You lied. You lied. You lied. We know you lied.
Why does he think she lied? There's no reason to think that. She testified under oath to what she witnessed. What do you mean she lied? No, she didn't.
We know you lied. You know you lied. You're a liar.
But, you know, it seems to me that he wouldn't even be addressing it if he wasn't, like, perturbed by it in some, like, real way. All right? So, in the spirit of talking about his homophobia, listen to just a little bit of this clip about Britney Griner.
So what does Brother Britney do? Yeah, it's Brother Britney. Look at the Adam's apple, darling. Brother Britney throws a basketball around and kneels during the Pledge of Allegiance to the flag.
Not true. Just completely fabricated as far as I can tell.
Refusing to pledge his allegiance.
Just rampant transphobia. Dude just cannot stand gay people, apparently. This is not even the worst of it. Okay, this is bad. But there's more. There's even worse, if you can believe it.
Drugs, hates America, and Brother Britney has a wife.
Oh my God, the gall.
That's right. That's right. Brother Britney has a wife.
You mean to tell me that we live in a free country? This is news to me. Somebody should do something about this. Make it less free. Anyway, that's Shane Vaughn on Britney Griner. It's an embarrassment. Dude is an embarrassment. There's no, what's the word I'm looking for here? There is no overarching principle to be found, okay? He got called out for calling Ketanji Brown Jackson a monkey, said that that was too racist, and he said, I apologize, you're right, I shouldn't have said that, no excuses. And then went on to say, but I still think that she's talking monkey sense and should be in the jungle like Tarzan. Great, okay, so the apology meant absolutely nothing. Why did he get called out for that specific thing? Why did he get called out for calling her a monkey, but not for all of the other stuff? What is happening? Listen to this one. He appeared, he was at a Trump rally, I think. He appeared on this guy's show. This dude on the left is a YouTuber, I believe. I forget his name now. But he goes around and interviews, like, right-wing nutcases. Yeah, I believe he's a left-winger. I should probably try to figure out who he is. Anyway, yeah, listen to what he has to say here to Shane Vaughn.
You guys heard of Vivek Ramaswamy?
Oh, yeah. Well, he worships a Hindu god. And at the top of this nation, just like Obama was a closet homosexual.
Obama was a what? Again, why do you think that? What are you talking about? Where'd you get this information? Who told you that? What, did you hear it from God or like what?
We don't want a Hindu god worshiper running our nation, bottom line.
And why did he even bring Obama into it? Was there a reason to?
He's a Hindu.
Okay. So I thought we liked Vivek.
I don't.
Oh, okay.
No, I don't.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry.
No, he don't like Israel.
He don't like Israel, yeah. Shane Vaughn doesn't like Israel either, actually. He just likes the fact that Israel exists because it's a necessary step in the chain of events that need to unfold for, like, the end of the world to take place. Israel has to be its own country, and it has to be controlled by Jews. And I think he believes that the third temple needs to be built over top of a mosque, the Al-Aqsa Mosque. Oh my God, if that happens, if Israel destroys the mosque, it will be World War III then, in all seriousness. Oh my God, I hope that doesn't happen. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. He doesn't like Israel? Where the hell did you get that? Vivek Ramaswamy doesn't like Israel? He likes all of the same things that conservatives like. He is a mirror of Donald Trump for all intents and purposes. I guess I didn't include this video in this compilation. I meant to. It's my favorite video about him talking about, like, the LGBT community because it's so ridiculous and over the top and stupid. Okay, check this clip out. This one is from June 1st, 2023.
Can I explain something in case y'all don't know this?
Lay it on me, Shane.
The little LBGTQSers and who all they are.
You know those aren't the letters. You're doing that just to piss me off, aren't you?
Don't have jobs. You understand, right? They smoke weed.
Can you imagine? Living in a free country where people can do what they want with their lives. Just unacceptable. Cats and dogs living together, it'll be anarchy. As my friend the Rebel from the Breakfast Club says.
From the time they get up to the time they go to bed in their mother's basement. That's your little rainbow people.
Yeah, gay people all live in their mother's basements and smoke weed. Right.
The little rainbow people, they don't go to jobs because they can't mind bosses. Nobody's going to tell them what to do.
What the hell kind of a ridiculous stereotype does he have in his mind? What is happening? I don't understand.
So now Target knows that the LG...
Oh, yeah, there's something happening with Target at this moment. I think Target was being hit because, let's see, this is 2023, early June. I think it's because Target had basically trans-friendly clothing, swimsuits and things like that in one of their sections. And people like Shane Vaughn just lost their minds over it. I think that's what it was.
Now Target knows that the LGBTQTIFZ and O, those people have to shoplift because they don't have money.
Well, wait a minute. Why would Target be putting products in their shops to entice the LGBT community then? Why would they? You're saying this as though they're trying to deter LGBT people from shopping there, but they're putting this stuff right in the store? Even in this fantasy land, it doesn't make any sense. Okay, so Target knows that gay people, trans people don't have any money. They smoke weed, they live in their mom's basement, and they have to shoplift to get anything, okay? I thought their mom could just buy it for them, but do they shoplift the weed?
Shoplift because they don't have money. You know, they just live kumbaya. They think boys are girls, girls are boys. They think money falls on trees. So Target hates you because they know you've got the power.
Okay, I'm sorry. I feel like he just drew like lines, like a successive line of points that he wanted to bring us down, and none of them were connected to each other at all. So Target puts trans-friendly swimwear at their stores to entice gay people, trans people, LGBT community to shop at their stores, but they know they don't have money. So I guess they're just putting them there so that they'll be robbed. And Target is angry with you because they know you have the power. I'm so lost. It's not even funny. Well, it's kind of funny. You know what I feel like right now? I feel like this is a perfect representation of Shane Vaughn. Like this video here that I'm about to play. This represents him to a T.
Talk about the mail, please, Mac. I'm dying to talk about the mail with you all day, okay? Pepe Sylvia. This name keeps coming up over and over again. Every day, Pepe's mail's getting sent back to me. Pepe Sylvia, Pepe Sylvia. I look in the mail. Well, this whole box is Pepe Sylvia. So I say to myself, I gotta find this guy. I gotta go up to his office. I gotta put his mail in the guy's goddamn hands. Otherwise, he's never gonna get it. It's gonna keep coming back down here. So I go up to Pepe's office, and what do I find out, Mac? What do I find out? There is no Pepe Sylvia.
That's what I feel like we're watching unfold right now. Just absurd to a ridiculous degree. Okay, wow, there's more. All right. So Target is mad because they know you have the power. Go on.
The power. You middle-aged, conservative Christians, you got this. Yeah.
You've got money and gay people don't. Right. But I don't understand. Is the gay lobby all powerful and working its way into every area of life? Or are they broke as dog? Which one? It seems to me it can only be one, right? Or does George Soros just want, gay people to inhabit the earth and only gay people? So he's trying to turn everybody gay. God, dude, I don't know. I feel like I'm drawing like all these lines on a board in the background, like Charlie from It's Always Sunny just now.
Yeah, they know it, and they hate you because they have to bow down to you.
Okay, wow. I didn't know that Shane Vaughn was okay with people bowing down to him or others. It's a bizarre thing to say. I thought people were just supposed to bow down to Jesus, but all right, I guess people are supposed to bow down to people who have money. Fascinating. Anyway, look, the point that I'm trying to get at with all of this is that Shane Vaughn said some deeply racist stuff, and he had to apologize for it. It was so racist, he had to apologize for it.
I'm asking every one of you to forgive me if you can find it in your heart to do so.
But I'm not getting an apology for any of this stuff. Where's that apology? You're doing the equivalent to the LGBT community by talking about lesbian spirits and stuff like that. Like, Jesus Christ. Listen to this one. I think this one's about Obama. Yeah, this one is about Obama. Oh, what is his obsession with Obama and being gay?
The only way that God can correct an extreme is to send an extreme. And that's why he raised up Donald Trump, because Satan had raised up Barack Hussein, gay, raised by transgenders, Obama.
Okay, I don't think those are his middle names. I think that he just made that up. I'm pretty sure it's just Barack Hussein Obama, technically. I've never heard I've never seen a source that tells me that his middle name is gay or raised by transgenders or any of that. What a wild thing to claim about Obama, right? Raised by transgenders. Like, what? This guy is deep in the transvestigator hole. He's in a hole that he cannot find his way out of right now, right?
Obama brought such extremity to the nation that God had to reach down and raise up another extreme. And that's why I tell you that Barack is who created Donald Trump.
So I guess he recognizes that Trump is extreme? I mean, I reject the fact that Obama is extreme. He wasn't. He did a lot of things that I really didn't like. His drone policy and his foreign policy using drones, drone warfare, that's one of the many problems that I had with Obama. Overall, he wasn't extreme, though. He was a good president, aside from, murdering thousands of innocent people with drones. That's neither here nor there. The point is, I guess the guy recognizes that Trump is extreme.
Because anytime the devil makes a move, Yahweh, God, makes an even bigger move.
Well, why is God playing this ridiculous little game of cat and mouse? Can't he just snap his fingers and be done with it? Can't he just send Satan to the hole or whatever it is? The cage, the thing he's supposed to sit in for 1,000 years? Can't he spark Armageddon? What's going on here? Why are we doing this? Yeah, ultimately, the point behind this whole thing is that Shane Vaughn never cared. He doesn't care about how racist he was in the previous video, in one of the clips about Ketanji Brown Jackson. He doesn't care about how homophobic or transphobic he is. He doesn't care. Never cared. This is who he is. Says the quiet part out loud, quote unquote.
You see, Professor Toto says the quiet part out loud. I say what you've been thinking. That's why y'all love Trump so much. That's why I love him so much. He says the quiet part out loud.
Not really. I mean, Donald Trump is always dog whistling, but aside from that, you say the quiet part out loud, and you get called out for it, and for some reason, he apologized. Just bizarre, man. Well, let's see if we can get an apology for all the anti-LGBT stuff he said. That'd be great. I'd really appreciate that. Anyway, tell me what you think about it in the comments. This dude is just shameless, man. Next up, I've claimed that Shane was a Trump pastor, but I feel I should give the full context for why I say that. Is he a Trump pastor, or is he just a pastor that likes Donald Trump? He's a pastor of the Trump church. Let me justify that. We'll be right back. Don't forget to check out my Patreon, and check out my website and email list for early access to uncensored, ad-free, complete videos. All links are in the description.
Listen, I'm not dumb. I don't know what happened with him.
I'm not dumb, you say.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
Sure, I took that out of context, but it's still funny. It was worth playing. Anyway, you say you're not dumb? Go on. By the way, this is Shane Vaughn, if you're unfamiliar. He's a mega church pastor, televangelist kind of guy, a Trump pastor of a Trump church. Now, in this video, I want to argue that this guy is a full-blown Trump worshiper for all intents and purposes. He believes that Trump is effectively God, or he's fulfilling the role of God for all intents and purposes. That's what I'm going to argue. He's fulfilling the role of Jesus. So let's start with this first video here. Go ahead, Shane. Tell me what you got. By the way, he's talking about Stormy Daniels in this first video and E. Jean Carroll.
Listen, I'm not dumb. I don't know what happened with him and Stormy Daniels. I don't know what happened with him and E. Jean Carroll.
You don't? I mean, it's pretty obvious. He was found civilly liable as a so I don't know how you know that like flew over your head, how you missed that. Obviously he knows the name. He must have like tuned into the trial and stuff, right? I assume he like follows everything that Donald Trump does. You really don't know anything about these situations?
Carol, he may be guilty of it all, and
oh, he is.
Yes, call me a cult member. I don't care. Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba if I saw that he was winning the war.
Jesus Christ, dude. Well, David did do some pretty messed up stuff with Bathsheba, if you don't remember the story. David saw Bathsheba through his window and was watching her take a bath or something. I don't remember. And so he really wanted to get with her, and he sent her husband off to die in a war. And when he found out that he was dead, David went out and tried to get all up on that. So, and then he did. He got all up on that, and then he like had to pray for forgiveness, so on and so forth. Anyway, wow. So this guy just doesn't care about the fact that Trump was found guilty in these cases. He was found guilty as a civilly liable rapist in this case with E. Jean Carroll. You don't care? And you still think he's God's man. Okay. Well, there's that, I suppose. You know, in the spirit of arguing that this guy believes that Donald Trump is fulfilling the role of Jesus in the second coming, let me show you a clip. I talked about Shane Vaughn recently, about something really racist he said, and he apologized for it. And he named me personally in the apology and said, I apologize, and I thank my enemies, Owen, Fireside, Chad, and others, for calling me out. I need to be called out for his racism. Anyway, leading up to that, in the video where I talked about him, he obviously watched the video, right? I said this about it. This is Shane Vaughn. He is a pastor, a Trump pastor, believes that Trump is sent by God and that Trump is the Messiah. He has said those words, Trump is the Messiah. I'm not joking. And what did Shane choose to address in the video of mine that he watched? He didn't decide to debunk or claim that, you know, I'm wrong in this or whatever. No, he's fine with that seemingly. He wanted to apologize for being racist and then was immediately afterward racist again. He said all the exact same stuff as he said before. I mean, that's pretty dead to rights, isn't it? Like, Shane Vaughn is the pastor of a Trump church. He believes Trump to be the Messiah. It's hard to argue with that. But if you still don't buy it, check this clip out from Shane Vaughn. This one is actually old. This one is from this one's 2021, early May 2021, I believe.
We need 100,000 patriots to become reporters for Donald Trump. Get his words out there, since they wanted to be so smart.
Sorry, it's kind of blurry. I had to blow it up. He's in the corner.
That they wound up being stupid, because they made the same mistake that Satan made when he killed Jesus Christ.
Okay, Satan didn't kill Jesus. Satan didn't even order Jesus to be killed. Satan had no part in the process at all. I mean, he offered Jesus a whole bunch of stuff if he would bow down and do an act of worship to him, but Jesus came to die for mankind's sins, right? Isn't that like what it was all about? Did he read the Bible? Okay, you know what? Let's keep listening. By the way, this is right after Trump was banned from Facebook and Twitter and a bunch of others. And he's complaining about Trump being banned from Facebook. So he's, let's just keep listening. It gets even crazier.
By killing that one man and killing his voice, he created a world full of little Christians that echo the message of Christ. See?
So Shane Vaughn just compared Trump being banned from Facebook to Jesus being killed by Satan. There is so much wrong with it, I don't even know where to start. Okay? Go on.
That echo the message of Christ. See? Stupid on the devil's part. The Bible says, had Satan known what was going to happen, he would never have crucified Jesus Christ. Because
where does it say that? Jesus didn't crucify Jesus. I'm sorry. Satan didn't crucify Jesus. What are you talking about? Have you read the thing? Where did he get this? Is he just like pulling this right out of his ass? I don't understand. And it's so fascinating to me that he can say something so confidently, looking you dead in the eyes, you know, looking at the camera with a smile on his face, just make up like that. The Bible says Satan would have never crucified Jesus. He didn't have any part in it. What are you talking about?
Because what he did was he started a harvest of Christians that echo the message. He only had one man to deal with. Now he's got a whole population full of us. Same thing they're doing with Trump. Let him crucify him, but we're now the echo.
So how many comparisons to Jesus are we up to? I think this is kind of the same comparison, right? So he's compared Trump to Jesus twice so far. Same idea.
We're going to put it on every page, every Twitter account, everything we got. Now, because the oversight board didn't rule that we couldn't share Trump content, it's allowed on Facebook, for now anyway. So take advantage of it while we can. I'm ordaining all of you right now as evangelists of the Trump revival.
Does it get clearer? I don't know how it gets any clearer. Actually, that's a lie. I do know how it gets clearer. I said I wanted to convince you that this guy is a pastor of a Trump church, Donald Trump-centric church. So I'm going to really lay it out and do my best to prove that to you. It gets even crazier. Check this clip out. This one is from 2022. It's late April 2022. And I don't even know what to say. Just listen to this.
This is about a God that appointed a man. And you see, I've got enough Italian in me to know what loyalty means. Here's the way it works for me. I love loyalty.
Apparently only Italians like loyalty. Go on.
Loyalty is a forgotten quality. Donald Trump, you fought for my family will fight for you.
Well, I'm sorry. How did Donald Trump fight for your family? God, the delusion in this guy's head is just like unshakable. Donald Trump doesn't give a shit about you or your family, Shane. He would just as soon throw you under a bus, a literal bus. He doesn't care. And you fell for it. You fell for it. You bought it. You bought his grift, his scam. I mean, I don't want to go down this road right now, but, you know, Shane Vaughn hasn't like figuratively bought the scam. He's literally bought into the Trump scam. He purchased Trump golden coins, spent $2,500 on golden coin. Who has $2,500 just sitting in the bank ready to be spent on stuff? Shane Vaughn, apparently.
I am one of the few human beings on earth that holds in my hand what I'm about to show you. I am so excited about it. Official money, God's money.
God's money. You catching this? God's money.
Real MS-70 Silver Eagle coin. This is not a doubloon. This is the real, it's the only government money, official money in the world with my president on it. Look how beautiful that is. I bought 10 of these. Look at that, with that American flag behind our president. I bought 10 of these, and I bought them for $250 a piece.
$250 per coin. $2,500. Holy shit. Oh, and it's God's money. Remember, God's money. What's this worth, actually? Like, what would... So stupid. Look, even the grading has Donald Trump's photo in there. This isn't a proper grade. What is this worth? Let's see. How much silver is this? Is it a 0.999 silver, I assume? I mean, just being super optimistic. 1 troy ounce of 0.999 pure silver is worth $28.18. $28.18. And this, I don't know how else to say this. This poor fool bought into the scam. So let's continue on listening to him tell us about loyalty. If you remember, he was saying that he believes in loyalty because Donald Trump fought for his family, so he's going to fight for Trump.
Donald Trump, you fought for my family will fight for you. You went in that White House and you made our life better. You made our economy better. You made our churches better. You allowed us the freedom to choose a vaccine if we wanted one or not.
Oh, dude, this guy is so anti-vax. I love how he frames this up, too. We're going to talk about his position on vaccines in a minute. But he wants to claim the vaccine as a Trump W, even though he's anti-vax. Because the vaccine was developed under Donald Trump. Remember, Trump was not standing in a lab with goggles on and beakers and, Erlenmeyer flasks and droppers and stuff and Bunsen burners and all that junk making a vaccine. It seems like that's what Shane Vaughn means when he says Trump created the vaccine, but that's neither here nor there. Trump apparently, this guy, despite being anti-vax, wants the W for Trump. Okay, go on. Gave us the choice of getting a vaccine. Love the framing.
To choose a vaccine if we wanted one or not. You fought for our freedom, and I'm not about to start second guessing your choices and what you do. If you make a mistake, it'll be on you, sir. But I will be loyal. I'm not a Tino. I'm not a Valentino.
Trumpist in name only is what that means. Trumpist in name only. Oh my God. Not a Valentino. What the hell does that mean?
I am a Trump supporter. Why? Because God chose the man, and I've got sense enough to know it, recognize it. I know where the blessing is. Let me tell you something. When you find a blessed man, when you find a blessed ministry, you better plant your feet under that blessing, and it will fall down on top of you.
Well, I guess he probably views it that way because he's the leader of a Trump church, right? And that made him very wealthy. And, connecting those dots in his head, I guess he said, well, I guess Trump is bringing me blessings. And Trump is blessed because he was president for a while. So that must mean that God likes the guy. On top of all of that, that kind of logic that he's using there, he has some actual theological beliefs behind this. It's not just his bizarre winding conspiracy that God loves Trump because he was president. Listen to what he said in this one. This is early February 2023, I believe.
When you separate the man from a message, all of a sudden the message will die because the anointing is on the man.
People were talking about at the time, should Trump just bow out of the president's election or whatever because he's so controversial and pick a successor to the MAGA movement? They're saying DeSantis should be the successor at the time to the MAGA movement. And Shane was livid.
Donald Trump is the leader of the MAGA movement. When you do not support the man that God has ordained for the...
God has ordained. Seriously, remember I said this guy is the leader of a Trump church?
That God has ordained for the job. You are a Judas.
Is that another comparison to Jesus? How many are we up to now? You are a Judas Iscariot if you don't support Donald Trump. And then there's this classic one right here. This is from 2023, I believe. No, this is from mid-August 2022, where he just flat out says it.
Donald Trump carries the prophetic seal of the calling of God. He is Joseph. If you are anointed by Yahweh for a specific plan and purpose, you are a Messiah.
There you go. Call Donald Trump a Messiah. Give the audience a second to mull that over, I guess, while he rubs his face.
Yeshua was the Messiah of mankind, but Donald Trump is the Messiah of America.
That is psychotic. I mean, it's clear now, right? I feel I've put the final nail in the coffin here. The guy is the leader of a Trump church. It's not just like, oh, I love Trump and I think that he was chosen by God to move America into a new era. No, it's not like that. Like, he actually believes that Donald Trump is a messiah. Here's what he had to say about vaccines. I think this is his commentary on getting vaccines, because people were unhappy with the vaccine. Everything turned anti-vax after Trump left. This video is actually from early January 2022. So it was about a year after Trump was out of the White House. And people were losing it over the vaccine, stupidly. And this guy said, oh no, Trump endorsed the vaccine. He said everybody should get vaccinated because it was killing off his supporters. And this guy said, if you turn on Donald Trump because he endorsed vaccines, you're a traitor. Listen to this.
Now, many people have told me that, they're losing faith in Donald Trump.
Losing faith in Donald Trump. I thought faith is something that people placed in God. It is, of course.
Because of his stand on the vaccine. Let me correct you. You're not losing faith in Donald Trump, because it was not Donald Trump that put Donald Trump in that office. 4 years before Donald Trump was ever known about running for office, Yahweh, the God of heaven, spoke through the mouth of a prophet and said that a man named Donald would be put into the White House.
Okay, I don't know which specific thing he's talking about, but these QAnoners, he is a QAnoner, by the way, these QAnoners usually name one of two people when they say this, when they claim that Trump's presidency was prophesied beforehand. Either Kim Clement or Mark Taylor, the firefighter prophet. Mark Taylor was dozing one day. Liberty University did a documentary, quote unquote, on Mark Taylor. Absolutely unglued from reality, that guy. I've covered him. Check him out on my channel if you don't know him. Anyway, Mark Taylor was dozing in his chair one day, and I forget what the story. Maybe God woke him up and spoke to him directly and said, Mark, I'm going to send Donald Trump to be the president and blah, blah, blah. I think it was just like a few years before Trump ran. But Trump had been talking about running for literally decades up to that point, and it really ramped up in 2012, I think. He started talking about it all over the place. Maybe I'll run for president. Maybe I'll run for president. He was doing it through the 2000s and into the 2010s. It's really no surprise. It's basically aiming a dart at a board and throwing it and seeing where it lands. The chances that it'll land in any one spot are low, but it's going to land somewhere. It's like flipping a coin, right? What are the chances it's going to be heads or tails? Either Trump's going to run for president or he's not. This is no surprise. No one was surprised to find out that these people were paying attention to the news and heard that Donald Trump was talking about running. These poor fools prophesy about people running for public office all the time. If you really want to knock my socks off with your prophecies, write it down in vivid detail. I don't mean this guy's going to run for president one day. I mean, this person's going to run for president. On this date, he's going to announce. On this date, he's going to get this number of votes. And on this date, he will be inaugurated. And this is what's going to happen. Real detail. Give us real detail for something that's going to happen 10 years in the future. Write it down on a piece of paper and mail it to yourself. Show us on screen. Mail it to yourself and keep that little postmark in the corner so that we can verify that, it hasn't been opened or anything. And in 10 years, reopen it and read it again. That would be a prophecy that I would accept. I would definitely want to, check to see if he'd been in contact with aliens before believing that his iteration of God or his conception of God blessed him with prophetic knowledge. That's pretty far-fetched. But it would be one step in the right direction. I don't buy this at all. Anyway, keep listening here. We're going to talk about Kim Clement in a second. He said 4 years before Donald Trump ran, a man prophesied him. No, he just took a shot in the dark and hit somebody, hit a name that had been talking about it forever.
Would be put into the White House. And that man, Donald, would be the servant of Yahweh to restore America. And guess what else that God said? That this man would serve 2 terms.
Yeah, he's talking about Kim Clement. He did say that.
So if you're losing faith in Donald Trump, you're really losing faith in the God that put him in office. And that's a dangerous thing.
So about Kim Clement, since we're talking about the theology behind this and everything, just give this prophecy, quote unquote, a listen. This is the video that's commonly pulled out by QAnoners, specifically people on the Elijah List Facebook page. It's got somewhere around 500,000 subbies. They've had, I think, Donald Trump Jr. on. They've had Eric Trump on before. They get all these kinds of prophets. I think they've had Shane Vaughn on to speak at some point, Johnny Unlow, and all these other QAnon Trump prophets. Whenever they talk about a prophet prophesying that Trump was going to run for office, it's always Kim Clement. It's always these clips that are referenced. This is from April 4th, 2007. By the way, in the previous 7 years, Donald Trump had been really ramping up interest in the possibility that he might run for president. Like, he was going to the media and having articles written as much as he possibly could, trying to hype it up.
This that shall take place shall be the most unusual thing, a transfiguration, a going into the marketplace, if you wish, into the news media, where Time magazine will have no choice but to say what I want them to say. Newsweek, what I want to say.
I mean, he's pretending to speak for God right now. These are God's words. What is he even saying right now? This that shall take place shall be the most unusual thing. Like, what? Just speak in English, please. I'm begging you. A going into the marketplace, if you wish, into the news media. No, I don't wish. I wish that you would just use English. Time magazine will have no choice but to say what I want him to say. Newsweek, The View. Okay.
Newsweek, what I want to say. The View, what I want to say. Trump shall become a trumpet, says the Lord.
Trump shall become a trumpet, okay? I don't even know what that means.
Trump shall become a trumpet. I will raise up the Trump to become a trumpet, and Bill Gates to open up the gate of the financial realm for the church, says the Lord.
Whoa, wait a minute now. That doesn't sound like a successful prophecy to me. God is saying what now? Trump shall become a prophet? I'm sorry, Trump shall become a trumpet? Okay, I don't know what that means. And he says, Bill Gates will open the gates of a financial realm for the church? What the hell does that even mean? That never happened. That's a failed prophecy. Either he's hearing the voice of God or he's not, right? Seems pretty clear he's not. By the way, false prophecy, the penalty for false prophecy was death in the Old Testament. Now, I don't endorse that, obviously. But this isn't a little thing. Well, I get one right, I get one wrong. No, if you get one wrong, you die. That's the way that it operated when prophets were running around doing their thing, supposedly, all the way back then. And this dude's throwing out prophecy after prophecy like this. Every now and then he gets one kind of right a little bit. Trump shall become a trumpet? Well, I guess I can kind of see. I mean, what does that mean exactly? Does that mean that he's going to like have a loud voice? Or I suppose I can kind of fit Trump, right? Anyway.
I will not forget 9/11. I will not forget what took place that day.
Well, why did God let it happen?
And I will not forget the gatekeeper that watched over New York.
And who was that? Specifically, give me a name. Who watched over New York? Because they dropped the ball, didn't they, on 9/11? If they were watching over New York, what, some supposed angel or something? I don't have any idea. If they were watching over New York, they failed miserably.
Who will once again stand and watch over this nation, says the Spirit of God. It shall come to pass that the man that I place in the highest office shall go in, whispering my said when he enters into the office, he will be shouting out by the power of the Spirit.
Have we heard Donald Trump shouting out by the power of the Spirit? Have we heard him speaking in tongues? Have we seen him even go to church? Like literally ever. Has anybody ever photographed Donald Trump at a church before that wasn't a planned photo op? What church does he go to? What religion is he? What's his denomination? How long has he had the Bible that he's using right now? What translation is his favorite? The guy is not religious. Honestly, I think he's an atheist president. Donald Trump, I don't want that. I don't like that. I just think that's how it is. I don't believe for a second that Donald Trump is religious. And it says he enters into the office whispering God's name, but when he leaves office, he'll be shouting God's name. No, that didn't happen. And aside from that, he didn't even name Donald Trump. Talk about like 9/11 and some guy, the man I place in the highest office, shall go in whispering my name. That has nothing to do with Donald Trump. Things happen in the news, right? You can watch news cycles unfold, and you can make you can make educated guesses as to what's going to happen next. Most likely, can make educated guesses about who's going to run and who's going to win and so on and so forth. You might be right, you might be wrong. And as you can see, Kim Clement made one of each of those two prophecies. He got one right, he got one wrong. You know, I don't even know if I'm ready to claim this as a W for his Trump prophecy, but he claimed Bill Gates is going to open up a financial realm for the church. That didn't happen. And then he claimed that Trump would be a trumpet, whatever that means. The point is, Kim Clement didn't have any special insight. He was lying. He was scamming you, and you fell for it.
Whispering my name, but God said when he enters into the office, he will be shouting out by the power of the Spirit, for I shall fill him with my Spirit when he goes into office, and there will be a praying man in the highest seat in your land.
Okay, where is Trump in this equation? I'm listening to the prophecy here. No mention of Trump. He just says, the guy who I put in office will not be very religious, but when he leaves office, he will be very religious. He never said anything about Donald Trump. He never said who the person would be. And also, Donald Trump is not religious. Never was. Okay, keep listening. So this one is from February 10th, 2007, apparently, this next part.
He will be a praying president, not a religious one, but I will fool the people, says...
Okay, when he says there will be a praying president, not a religious one, what he means is, a lot of the time these people, like Kim Clement and Shane Vaughn and others, speak negatively about religion, quote unquote, specifically religion. They say religion is causing problems in the world, but God is solving problems in the world. It's kind of their little jab at any churches that aren't their church. That's what he meant when he said this. I hear it day in and day out from these people. This isn't saying what Shane Vaughn claims it's saying. And he knows that. Shane Vaughn has to know that.
Lord, I will fool the people. Yes, I will. God says, the one that is chosen shall go in, and they shall say, he has hot blood. For the Spirit of God says, yes, he may have hot blood.
Okay, so now we've got a prophecy about a dude being a D-bag. This could apply to literally anybody. This is not about Donald Trump.
You will bring the walls of protection on this country in a greater way, and the economy of this country shall change rapidly.
Oh, that happened, didn't it? The economy changed rapidly. Yep. Okay, fair enough. Successful prophecy. So stupid, man. Bring the walls of protection on this country is used as another example of how Trump was right. Or, I'm sorry, how Kim Clement was right about Trump. Because Trump talks about the border wall all the time. So there's your proof right there. Boom.
Listen to the word of the Lord. God says, I will put at your helm for 2 terms a president that will pray, but he will not be a praying president when he starts. I will put him in office, and then I will baptize him with the Holy Spirit and my power, says the Lord of hosts.
Yeah, and when is the last time Trump spoke in tongues? I reiterate, dude is not religious now, and he wasn't religious then. I truly believe that Donald Trump is one of our first atheist presidents. I can't say the first because a lot of the founding fathers were deists, I guess. I'm not convinced that Obama is a believer, but I think Trump is definitely atheist. I don't think he believes in anything but Donald Trump. So there you go. There were the Trump prophecies to which Shane Vaughn was referring earlier. There are Kim Clement's prophecies. Literally, all he said was Trump will be a trumpet, and Bill Gates will open a financial realm to this land or to whatever, to the church or whatever it is. That's not a successful prophecy at all. But, you know, the rabbit hole goes deeper. This whole thing is about Shane Vaughn being the leader of a Trump church, right? There is a full-blown theology behind it. So let me just talk about it in short order in case people are unfamiliar. This video is where I got this, sound from on my soundboard.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
One of my favorites. And I also love this one from Greg Locke.
I'm dumber than a box of rocks in a lot of areas.
Okay, sorry. All right, so anyway, listen to what Shane Vaughn says here, and we'll talk about the theological concepts that he's building to make Donald Trump a messiah.
And he wrote down, we are going, he wrote a course, to New Israel, New Israel, New Israel. And when they came off the ship, they didn't plant an American flag, they planted the Christian flag.
Okay, well, the American flag didn't exist yet. Wasn't that George Washington's wife that sewed the first American flag? Are we talking about the Pilgrims? Okay, go on.
On the soil they dedicated, George Washington knelt and prayed, dedicated America where the Twin Towers stand or stood. That's where America came into covenant with Yahweh.
No, that did not happen. George Washington was not a religious person, first of all. Second, he's talking about a famous painting from the 1970s, a painting of George Washington kneeling in front of his horse or next to his horse or whatever, praying. Again, George Washington was not religious. He was a deist, I believe. Anyway, this is a necessary part of the theology. Shane Vaughn needs this to be true because he needs America to be New Israel for Donald Trump to be the new Messiah. This is like a key component, the linchpin, if you will. So he claims that George Washington brought America into covenant with God by praying, by kneeling and praying where the Twin Towers are.
Covenant with Yahweh.
I mean, it's false, of course.
With God was where the Twin Towers stand.
Wow. Ain't that something?
Ain't that something?
That's where George Washington prayed. Right there's a chapel right outside the Twin Towers where George Washington, that picture of him praying by the horse, that's where it happened.
That didn't happen. That's not a real picture. You realize they didn't have, like, photographs back then, right? You realize people had to pose for paintings, right? That's not actually really a picture of George Washington. And that event did not play out.
Where it happened. That's where he dedicated our nation in covenant to God. If you will make us a great nation, deliver us from tyranny, then we will serve you. And he gave the nation to God at that point.
So now that he's made America New Israel, all of the prophecies that exist for Israel are transferred over to Christians and to New Israel. That's one of the linchpins of the beliefs. Washington brings America into covenant with God, and all of the prophecies transfer over.
Every signer of the Declaration of Independence were descendants of the tribes of Israel.
Another linchpin. And no, that's false. That is straight up false. But again, important piece of his theology. It must be true if, he believes in this Trump church the way he does.
Every signer of the Declaration of Independence were descendants of the tribes of Israel. We can trace it, we know it. And here's the thing you've got to understand about Israel. Most people think of Israel, when you say the word Israel, they think of Jews. I was adopted.
Here we go.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life, and I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
This is the part. You guys ready? Okay, now what was that, Shane? Sorry. I just love that clip. Now you get the context.
Think of Israel, when you say the word Israel, they think of Jews. I was a doctor of theology.
No, he is not a doctor of theology.
I was the youngest ordained evangelist in America at 14 years old.
No, that was Marjo Gortner at 4 years old, I believe. This right here on the right, this is the youngest ordained minister to ever live, Marjo Gortner.
At this time, I would like to present to you the world's youngest ordained minister and the world's youngest evangelist, Marjo Gortner.
And he went on to be a televangelist, and eventually he debunked a whole bunch of stuff and exposed all of the scams. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. So go on, tell me more, Shane, about how you were the world's youngest evangelist at 14.
I was the youngest ordained evangelist in America at 14 years old. Wow. I've lived for the Lord my whole life.
No, he was an insurance salesman and scammed old people out of money. Actually stole their social security numbers, to my knowledge. I read about this a while back. And went to jail for insurance fraud, maybe? Or fraud of some sort, for 4 years. He was in prison for 4 years. It's a long time. So, no, you didn't live for the Lord your whole life. You lived for yourself for a while, at least.
Ordained evangelist in America at 14 years old. Wow. I've lived for the Lord my whole life. And I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
That one I can believe. The one true statement.
I've lived for the Lord my whole life. And I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it.
Okay, so tell us how you were dumb, Shane.
My whole life. And I was dumb as a box of rocks and didn't know it. At 40 years old. Because I thought that a Jew meant Israel and an Israel meant Jew.
Again, one of the linchpins. Old Israel is not connected to God anymore. New Israel is in covenant with God now.
Until I started studying my Bible, and I found out that the first mention of the word Jew in the Bible is them fighting against Israel. Wow. When you come to understand...
Wow. You hearing this in the background? Like, what are these people doing? Do they even care what they're listening to right now? Do they even, like, grasp what he's saying? Are they paying any attention?
Israel. Wow. When you come to understand that Israel is not Jews and Jews is not Israel, when you get that, here's what happens. All of a sudden, and I'll do it real fast, at one time, they were one nation.
God, I wish you had more time to expand on it because it's actually really interesting theological belief. We just let him break it down a little bit here.
King Solomon died, King Jeroboam, King Rehoboam, there was a split.
Yeah, so Israel existed back in the Old Testament, and there was a split, and now the bottom one is Judah. And so Judah is to the south, Israel's to the north, and the tribe, it's also called Judea. It was renamed to Judea around the year 600 BCE. Anyway, the tribe of Judah is alleged to have lived in Judea. That's why it was named Judea, because of Judah, Anyway. By the way, there weren't just 12 tribes of Israel, for the record. There were like a billion different tribes. In fact, the Bible itself mentions more than just 12. It mentions at least 15, I think. And extra biblical sources talk about even more tribes, like in the 20s or 30s. So there's nothing special about these tribes or whatever. There's no special connection. These people are just Jews because they were largely separated from the rest of society, and they didn't eat the same things as others. They didn't pray the same way. They didn't worship the same way. They didn't dress the same way. They didn't keep facial hair the same way. It was all very, very different. So Jewish is actually an ethnicity as well as a religion, because the religious adherents were strict about not bringing in outsiders for so many thousands of years. So anyway, yeah, people from Judea and Israel are all, Jews, and they're all one ethnicity. I mean, we can trace it with DNA testing now.
It was a split. Yeah. The Jews, the tribe of Judah, stayed in Jerusalem.
Dude, did he just whistle with his teeth? Say that one more time, Shane.
Stayed in Jerusalem.
Wow, I can't believe that's not blowing out my speakers.
Stayed in Jerusalem.
What a wild whistle that he just did with his teeth. I wish I could do that. That'd be awesome, right?
They kept the Sabbath. That's why they're still identifiable. They kept the Sabbath. That kept them identifiable for these thousands of years.
It's just complete nonsense. He's just making all of this up. He has no idea where Judaism came from. Does he even realize that the current form of Judaism is called Rabbinic Judaism and was more commonly known as the Pharisees in Jesus' day? Modern Jews are Pharisees. That's what they are. They're Pharisees. That's the name. I know Pharisee is used as an insult, but no, that's actually a thing. They're Pharisee, the Pharisaical movement. That's modern day Jews. Is he aware of that? He has no clue what he's talking about, does he?
Of years. However, there was 10 tribes that went to the north with King Rehoboam in rebellion. Those tribes crossed over the Caucasian mountains. They were captivated by the Germans.
Where'd you get all this? Why do you think that... sure, there were Jews that lived in Israel and there were Jews that lived in Judea. Yes, I agree. Now, what's all this about them going over the Caucasus Mountains, being captivated by... What? By the way, Samaria, home of the Samaritans, Good Samaritan woman, that was the capital of Israel. Samaria was the capital of Israel. And eventually, when Judah was renamed to Judea, Israel was renamed to Samaria. Anyway, the Samaritans are from the Jewish lineage. They do have a shared lineage, a shared ethnicity with Jews. I mean, we have DNA testing, and there are still Samaritans around today, like right now. Not many. There are only, I think, in the thousands, but they're around. So no, they didn't go over the Caucasus Mountains and then get captivated by Germans. What? No, they were just like, they stayed in the area. They were Samaritans and other, they just stayed in the area. They're not necessarily Samaritans, but they just stayed there.
They crossed over the Caucasus. Oh, we out of time. Oh, anyway. So they crossed over. I'll make it real quick. Where they wound up at was the great...
Holy Christ, dude. Look at this. I don't know where he's speaking, but wherever it is, they made $485,000. What is this? What am I looking at here? I've never noticed this before. We now own our building. They raised $485,000 to own their building. Jeez.
Where they wound up at was the Great British Isles, because the prophecy was that they would go to the Isles of the Sea. And from there, we find those tribes making their way to the United States of America.
There's that whistle again. God, that whistle is wild. Anyway, point is, he believes that the founding fathers were Jewish, the real Jews. The Jews that live in Israel right now are imposters. They're fakes, and they're just using their name and position to blah, 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 blah. That's what he believes. That's his position. And he thinks the real Jews came over the Caucasus Mountains, turned white, and because apparently that's the barrier. Once you pass the mountains, your skin turns white immediately. Like the second your foot hits the ground on the other side, you're white. And then they went to Germany. They became the Anglo-Saxons who went over to Britain and then settled in America. And George Washington was actually Jewish, apparently, in this guy's mind. Complete fabrication. But that's the basis for his theological belief that Donald Trump is the Messiah. This is New Israel in America, apparently. And the reason George Washington had the authority to come into covenant with God in the first place, because he was a real Jew. I mean, it's, again, completely fake. He made this all up. Donald Trump, in his mind, is also a real Jewish person and is acting as the Son of Man. Son of Man is a role that was expected to be fulfilled by Jesus, a role mentioned in the Old Testament. I don't know why they called it Son of Man. They just did. Son of Man. It's a weird name. Anyway, Son of Man was supposed to act as a kind of cosmic judge who would take political leadership over Israel in that whole area, like politically, like he'd be a king. And he'd set up the kingdom of God there in Israel, in the Middle East. And it would expand out and take over everything eventually. And it would have the Son of Man as its king, and the kingdom would stand to the end of time. That's the actual, real belief that Jesus and his followers had. Jesus did not expect to die. That was not part of the plan for anybody. When he was crucified, he said, "My God, why have you forsaken me?" He thought God gave up on him. He thought he was supposed to take political leadership over Israel. And he realized that he wasn't going to have that opportunity because he's going to die. He thought God was going to save him until the very last moment. So when Jesus didn't take over as the king of Israel as expected, the apostles didn't understand what was happening and didn't know how to make sense of it. So they said, he'll come back. He'll be back pretty soon, just anytime, any 5 minutes now. And when he comes back, he'll take political leadership and then fulfill his role as Son of Man and become the king of a kingdom that will stand forever, the kingdom of God, and judge who is worthy of being in the kingdom and who isn't. So anyway, Shane Vaughn's belief that Donald Trump is the Messiah is based in that. So Jesus was the Son of God. He came to earth to spread the message. And Donald Trump is the Son of Man, the guy that's taking political leadership over Israel, or New Israel, and he's having anybody who disagrees with him killed because he's the cosmic judge. He can make that decision. He is effectively the second coming of Jesus. Now, I'm no Bible scholar, but I feel like the Bible mentioned that there was going to be an imposter coming one day, right? In Jesus' place. Doesn't it say that? I'm pretty sure it says something about that. Or a substitute, something to that effect. Anyway, the point is, Shane Vaughn thinks Trump is the Messiah because this is New Israel. That's psychotic. When I say Shane Vaughn is the leader of a Trump church, I'm not being hyperbolic. I'm not exaggerating. This is a Trump church. And Shane Vaughn seems to agree with me since he didn't deny any of it. He didn't push back. He didn't, nothing in the video that he apparently watched of mine where I criticized him for being racist. This is Shane Vaughn. He is a pastor, a Trump pastor, believes that Trump is sent by God. And why didn't he push back against any of this? Dude is a Trump pastor.
Listen, I'm not done. I don't know what happened with him and Stormy Daniels. I don't know what happened with him and E. Jean Carroll. He may be guilty of it all. And yes, call me a cult member. I don't care.
Okay, I will.
Why? No more than I would have cared what David did with Bathsheba if I saw that he was winning the war.
Anyway, the point is that Shane Vaughn believes that Donald Trump is the second coming of Jesus. Actually, really. I hope I've established that for you guys. And I hope I've kind of explained the winding theology. It gets wild. Anyway, there's a lot more to it. It's fascinating, actually. But tell me what you think about it in the comments. If you want to hear more videos about bizarre theologies like this, I think it's really interesting. That's all I've got for you. If you like what I do and you want to see me continue to do it, don't forget to check me out on Patreon. And take a look at my YouTube channels. Owen Morgan, where I talk about religious issues. Telltale Fireside Chat, where I talk about politics. Telltale Unfiltered, where I do long-form breakdowns of stuff like this, and Telltale Reads, where I read books by televangelists and others. I release everything in parts, but every part stands independently of the last, so you can jump in anywhere and I'll make sure it makes sense. You can find some ad-free, uncensored, complete versions of all my videos on my website, owenmorgan.com. And while you're there, don't forget to sign up for my email list to get early access to everything. All links are in the description. Okay, thanks for watching, guys.